and I think you'll have to move it since I can't, so we can go on to the
Mhm.
next one.
Yeah.
So of course, a lot of you have already told me what you're expecting from this session. What I can tell you is that, like I've already mentioned, I want it to be an insightful but also very engaging conversation. It's not a presentation. Let's treat it like a conversation, and I'm going to reiterate it again. Um, just putting these bullet points here for you so that you can already note them down. And if you have some questions, if something especially resonates with you, you have an idea what's going to come up in the conversation. Luxury, the future of luxury, because we've been in a pandemic for over a year, and as young graduates, it's really important for us to know where the luxury industry is heading. Because I can tell you from experience, last year in Jan, when the pandemic was just concentrated in Asia, most of the major groups, luxury groups like LVMH, like Kering, went into a PPP, which is the Profit Protection Plan. And unfortunately, they're still not out of it. And maybe these are some things, some keywords that you might want to note if you have an interview with an HR or something. It really impresses them to, so it really impresses them that you've done your research. So this happened, and they have also unfortunately frozen their hiring process. But what's really important to know, and which is great, is that internships, VEE, everything is still on. So maybe it might be difficult to get a job, but it won't be difficult to get internships. So we just have to see where the industry is heading on, and we're going to be discussing that. Then, of course, the fad or reality. Is it diversity, inclusion, and sustainability? Are these just words, or is this just a bandwagon that a lot of luxury companies and maisons are heading on? Or is it really something concrete? Then, of course, I'm going to share with you the life of a young graduate for me, especially me being an international. I'm from India, so the journey was not very similar to how it would be for a lot of Europeans, probably. But I'll be very happy to share what I went through and how I came about everything that I have until now. Then, of course, the importance of branding and marketing. This is something very close to me. This is the area of expertise I would like to call, which I'm moving ahead in. And then, of course, we're going to have an open floor where I'm going to tell you everything about women at Dior. And if you want to be a participant in that, how can you do it? Next slide, please. Okay, so we've already done this part while we were waiting for the slides to be up, a bit about you and a bit about me. So I know a lot of people now, and I've also connected with a few of you on LinkedIn. We've already had a chat. If we haven't, please feel free to add me. If you're, not brave enough to talk right now, I'll be very happy to talk to you via text if that's what you're more comfortable with. So, just a little story. I come from a fashion background. I studied intensive fashion while I was in India in one of the top fashion universities. But I'm not a fashion designer, as a lot of people might think. I am, in easy words, let's say, a fashion engineer. So, once you have a design, can it be produced? If it can be produced, how much would it cost? Where should we produce it? Should we produce it in Bangladesh? Should we produce it in Jordan? Where should we produce it? So all sorts of questions like that. And while I was at it, I specialized in sustainable fashion. One of the projects which is very close to me, which I worked on, was creating sanitary napkins or sanitary pads out of out of fabrics which were, let's say, waste, because the fashion industry wastes a lot of fabrics. um, it's crazy. So I just decided that maybe I should collaborate my fashion engineering skills to creating a product that might actually end up being useful. So that's where my first love for, let's say, sustainability sprung up, and I got a national award for doing that project as well back home. But while I was doing all of this, I also got a chance to come to France for 6 months on a scholarship exchange to study design and distribution management. And I have to be honest, I fell in love with France at that time. I fell in love with the world of luxury, and I decided to, come here, pursue my master's. And that's my journey from India to France. And now I'm specifically focused in marketing, brand management related to the luxury and fashion industry. Okay, so the words I live by and why I'm here. This is something very important for me, which is collaboration and connection over competition. I really feel what's missing in the industry is we're all chasing for, let's say, senior managers in companies, trying to, go to them and ask them, hey, listen, do you have an internship? This is I'm sending you my application right now. What if we connected within ourselves? What if we connected to people our age? It might not yield immediate results because we might all be interns right now, but we have to understand that if we collaborate and connect at this moment, 2 years down the line, we will all be in positions where we can switch and add value to each other. So instead of considering the person sitting next to you, or maybe, anybody in your class saying, hey, we're applying for the same internship, same jobs, you're my competition, what if we helped each other? How did I realize this? So when the pandemic struck, I started a passion project, which was about helping young graduates brand themselves. It was about young graduates, especially women, because I don't know, it was just the sisterhood in me. I was helping a lot of young women who were trying to break into the luxury industry, and just I would get over on a call with them with a cup of coffee in my hand and be like, hey, let's chat. How can I help you? And in this process, in the past 10 months, I have collaborated with over 75 different people and actually help them with their resumes, their LinkedIn, how to personally brand themselves. There have been examples. And if you go through my LinkedIn profile, I've actually put testaments of all of these people I've been in touch with, whom I helped with their applications and things like that. And over the process of doing these passion projects, I realized that this is something really important. And so the words stand here right by you. Let's collaborate. Let's connect instead of considering each other competition. Coming to the main point of the conversation, it's called the luxury society. We all want to work in the luxury industry, but how do we define luxury? Maybe does somebody have any answers? What is luxury for you? There's no right or wrong, but how do you perceive luxury? Maybe just one word, anything that comes to your mind.
High quality.
High quality, yes, definitely. When we look at luxury products, they're super expensive. We want them to be qualitative. Somebody else? For me, it would be craftsmanship because I feel it comes along with high quality. But if I'm paying so much, let's say a Remova suitcase costs so much more than a Samsonite suitcase, why would I pay for it? There is quality behind it. There is maybe a collaboration that's been done with the designers. So for me, it's definitely the craftsmanship. Maybe some other answers.
I would say also heritage.
Yes, indeed. A lot of luxury maisons have a great heritage behind them, a story behind them, how they started, where they started from. For example, Guerlain, not a lot of people know, Guerlain, which is a house of LVMH, is responsible for the first lipstick to be ever produced, for the first synthetic perfume to be ever produced, also for the first oriental fragrance to be ever produced. So, there's a huge story which goes behind these maisons. Incredible answer. Yes, heritage is definitely one of them. Somebody else wants to just throw in a word. What do you think? Yes. Vartika, are you there?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was saying bespoke made basically crafting for every
Mhm.
different kind of customer.
Yes, maybe we can say things like savoir-faire, the know-how of doing things.
Yeah.
Nice. So, why am I asking this question? I'm just asking this question because a lot of times people say, I want to work in the luxury industry, but we fail to first ask ourselves, what does it mean to be in the luxury industry? And how I realized the importance of this was because I was once in an interview call and somebody asked me this question. And I have to be honest, at that point, I did not have an answer. So this is something which happened with me. And since I'm here with you, or 30, 31 of you, I don't want you to go through the same thing. And I would urge you to actually go back, if not right now, think about what is luxury. So the 75 people I connected and called, and I had a chat with in the past 10 months, it was all one-on-one. And, a lot of us have become great friends. Now we have a community as well. So I asked this question, and somebody was like, yeah, luxury means, Gucci, Balenciaga, all these companies. No, within luxury, you can also have wines and spirits. You can have fine jewelry. You can have hotels. You can have yachts. There is so much more to luxury than just clothes and perfume. So I think this question is very important, and I'm going to leave it here for you to think about once after this call is over. And maybe if we stay connected, I would also hear some answers from your end after this. So it's just something to help you think. There are various domains which we've already discussed in luxury, and there are various definitions, some angles that you can think about when you're trying to answer what is luxury is. What would luxury mean to an expert? An expert could be probably somebody who's researching in this industry. Maybe you're a researcher in the luxury industry. Maybe you're somebody who works for, let's say, the Boston Consulting Group, and you're thinking about the luxury industry and how it's going to perform. You're an expert at that time. So, what would luxury mean to you? Then, what would luxury mean to a customer, somebody who's buying? Then, you could also define luxury based on who the consumer is. So, we have to also understand here that a customer is very different from a consumer. It's not the same thing. Somebody who is buying may not necessarily be consuming the luxury product. So the answers may differ for both of them. Maybe I'm, let's say, for example, I'm the customer. I buy a luxury, let's say, skincare product for my mom, who's now going to become the consumer of luxury. I just thought luxury is something I pay a lot for, but for my mom, it might mean something completely different when she's consuming it, right? She might think about quality at that time. She might think about value for money at that point in time. So yes, that's the difference. Then of course, creators, we've already discussed. Luxury for designers will be completely different from luxury for artists. Then you have corporates like the Kering Group or the LVMH Group. Their definition is going to be completely different. Then it'll always be different for somebody who's from France or for somebody who's from the US. So you also have to think about this, nationalities and geographies. So just leaving this here for you as a food for thought when you're thinking about your answers. And it's also very relevant because, like I said, I don't want to be here to don't want to be talking and just giving facts. I want you to make use of them once you step out in the industry or when you're in interviews. Like, think about this question, think about the answer that you've thought of, and present it. Like, weave the answer somewhere, like, while you're sitting with the manager, they might not ask you this question, but find a way of telling them the answer. So some trends, and why I feel these trends are important is because a lot of us are going to be graduating soon, and we really need to know the kind of industry we're going in. Because you could have Googled these facts, but the idea here is to discuss how we can use these facts to our benefit. So some micro trends which are going to be coming up in the coming 5 years are definitely digital first. Even though luxury is very it's more about the experience. The industry is struggling to give the same luxury experience per se through digital. So a lot of us might have had standard jobs to think about, like, hey, I want to be a product manager or want to be a merchandiser or media analyst. But these trends will give you another direction to think in as to the kind of jobs that you could be doing, which you've never thought of before. Digital is going to be a big thing. Maybe you were never big on digital. You felt like, that's not really my thing. But since it's going to be a macro trend in the luxury industry, you might want to think about it. You might want to research about the kind of things that digital can be doing right now. So that's definitely one. Second is growth of Asia. I'm not really sure if we have a lot of people from Asia right now, specifically China. We have to be honest that that's the next big thing. Then, of course, true sustainability. Because the upcoming consumers are going to be Gen Zs and millennials, we're not going to be washed down by just some random labels that, hey, listen, our clothes we're completely sustainable. For example, even though H&M, I do not, in my definition of luxury, H&M doesn't fall under luxury. But if we have to take an example, I really feel that they're sort of greenwashing. They have a lot of sustainability issues. planted against them in various countries. So we have to be very careful when we're looking at CSR reports or when we're reading all these sustainability reports and see if on ground those things are actually being done or not. And as a person who's going to be entering the industry, it's important we do our research on our own. So again, coming back to the first slide, I said network, talk to the people. So I'm not going to take names, but of companies right now. But I really wanted to work with this fashion label in the Netherlands. I was super, super convinced that those are the people I'm going to be working with. But after talking to 6 to 7 employees in that company, I heard the same thing. We can tell you off record, Ananya, that even though we have a great CSR report, we're not doing things. And this was not just one employee saying this or two employees. 6 people told me that, and I was I was moved. I had always imagined and dreamt of working for this company, but knowing that sustainability is one of the major values, core values of me as a human being as well, I realized that this is not the company I could be working with. So don't just rely on reports. Go deep dive, do your research, and the best is going and talking to a person who's already experiencing something like this. And that was one of the major reasons I actually chose Guerlain as well, because their commitment to sustainability, given it's a luxury, given they're in the luxury division, is incredible. It's incredible. Like they're doing so much. They have collaborations with the UNESCO, and they actually teach their influencers about sustainability, about bees. So that kind of investment, if a company is making, I feel it's great. Then, of course, we have M&A, the conglomerate model, which is, let's say, for example, an example of this would be LVMH buying Tiffany. So this is going to be a very macro trend, like under an umbrella, we have a lot of things going on. So this is something we should really be we could be looking forward to. Then coming to the micro trends of the luxury industry, purpose is the new product. Everybody has realized that materialism doesn't really take you so far, especially given the pandemic, which was which was surrounded by health. So yes, purpose is the new product. How can your product in the market? Maybe let's say one of you wants to become a product manager or a brand manager. This is something which is going to be really helpful for you. It's going to be food for thought. How is the product that I'm proposing adding value or purpose to my customer? Because nobody is just going to go and buy on a whim a product which costs 1,000 euros in the luxury industry. So what purpose are you serving? Then well-being is health. There's, of course, the privacy paradox. I'm not going to get too much into it, but there was this huge debate right now, which was going on with Google acting against the Apple privacy, the new act which has come up. Then, of course, the local luxuries and resale revival. A lot of companies. So if you're wanting to become a part of the luxury industry, you might want to look at all of these companies which are doing resale. There are lots of them based in Dubai. There are lots of them based in the UK. These are just my hints. The research is going to be yours, but that could be a great way of entering the luxury industry, if not through the mainstream, let's say, big maisons or something. Because resale is going to, given that sustainability is going to come up as a macro trend, resale is going to come up as a micro trend. Maybe if somebody has other trends that they want to talk about, do you have something to add on to it? Do you have something to comment maybe?
I would like to comment on the digital first part. So there are
Mm-hmm.
some luxury brands who are leaving social media, like Bottega Veneta.
Yes.
What is your point of view on that?
For me, so I did actually recently a research on Bottega Veneta strategy. And I think leaving social media gave them so much social media footprint, which their accounts were not managing before this. So for me, especially as somebody who comes from the branding and PR, field, I felt like it was the best PR strategy ever. They were not doing their social media accounts or their organic or paid search was not doing that well, but doing this one move of going away from social media actually created so much social media buzz for them. So I see it as like a master stroke. Okay. So we've discussed the trends moving forward. This is more of a debate and an open floor. I want to know your opinion about whether these words are fad or reality. Do you really feel like we're being washed? I've given you some examples before. I've talked about how I feel about it. And I can also say, especially as a young brown woman trying to enter this industry, I have met a lot of people, a lot of companies who claimed that they were inclusive, but on ground reality was very different. When I was sitting for an interview, and I'm not going to play the victim card, I'm not saying that they did me wrong. No, they did not. It was just the feeling of being in that company, the environment they were in. They said they're international and diverse, but as far as my eyes could go, it didn't feel like they were. So, do you feel like there are any examples out there, which any example of any company, maybe not luxury, somebody else who's actually doing a good job? What is your opinion? So, an open floor. I really want people to come up and tell me how they're thinking. We're not that many in the room. If you don't want to switch on your camera, it's okay. You can just switch on your mic and tell me how you feel about it.
So I actually think that now those three, let's say, values are really important. And I think that actually, yes, a lot of companies are pushing them and we can feel them because, of course, I'm not working in them, but we can feel them through social media. As you said, they're very important. So I feel like, yes, we are seeing those values. But then my question is it actually like this? Or like, is it just the brands that would like to, let's say, highlight those values to us? And I think you can understand this just when you enter into the company, because from what we see a lot of inclusion also, for example, thanks to all the models that they're using and influencers that they come from all over the world, and sustainability too. They're using a lot of this because nowadays, if you're not trying to be sustainable, you're not going anywhere. So this is my point of view.
Thank you so much. And you made some really nice points. And while I was listening to you, I could only think of Gucci. If you go through their social media, if you see the kind of campaigns they've been doing, so Gucci Beauty was something I was working on. So this is something I can personally also tell you. The models they've been using, incredible. I feel like the campaigns that have come up are actually creating at least that talk about sustainability. So being a first mover and doing these things make a lot of difference. And if you, I would have never imagined, let's say, a lipstick ad where teeth are crooked. Never in my life. The first time I saw it, I was actually shook. I was like, okay, is this normal? The fact that they're trying to make the first step towards normalizing something is incredible. So definitely great points. Then again, the idea is this is all being done. So there are always two aspects to diversity and inclusion. One is what you're showing in your marketing campaigns, in your, like, let's say live, maybe it's a fashion show, maybe it's a new launch, maybe it's via influencers. And the second comes within the company. So if you ever want to understand if a company is really diverse and inclusive, you just have to see the, let's say, the gender ratio first of all, how the gender ratio looks like. Then also within the gender ratio, this is a sort of an irony which I've noticed in the luxury industry. There are, let's say, more than 50% women working, but then when it comes to top management, it's completely reverse. So this is also something that can be easily looked at. And then again, talk to people who are working there. Talk to them about how they progressed in their career. And this is where I get a lot of questions from people. How do you end up talking to people? Like, how can you go up and ask them, hey, I just want to know whether your company is diverse or inclusive? No, that's not how you frame a question, and that's not how you talk to somebody. And this is something which is it's a common theme in the posts that I make on LinkedIn, the articles I write, or the sessions which I take. I always mention that whenever you're networking with somebody and whenever you want information, the first message to them should not be the question. It should be a real fact that you've taken up from their life. Let's say you want to connect with me. I've never met you. But if you say, hey, Ananya, you wrote this article on the lipstick effect in the age of coronavirus, and I found it really insightful. And I would know that you did your research, even though I would know that you did it just with the purpose of talking to me, but you still made that effort, and I'm more likely to reply to you. And once we break that ice, then you go about explaining about yourself. Hey, I'm this student. But a lot of networking messages, more than 100, start with, hey, I'm this person from this university looking for this. Nobody's going to reply to us. So this is something which I learned the hard way myself. And since I've learned it and I have found out a way which actually works, I'm sharing it with you all. So this is the conversation, and it's always going to be a big debate, fad or reality. But I do feel that steps are being made to correct the mistakes which had been done in the past. And especially with the George Floyd case, which happened, and especially in the US, for example, these things have come up in leaps and bounds, and we can expect this to be a relevant trend in the coming few years of the luxury industry. And this again, how is it relevant to all of us, all the young graduates? It's relevant to us because there will be jobs created specifically for these things. So let's not just think about the luxury industry and the few jobs that exist. Let's think about the jobs that could be created, and how can we, starting today, create that path for ourselves. The major question which everybody is here to know, what do the luxury maisons want from us? What are they looking for? Is there a correct answer? Is there something we should be? And having appeared for many many interviews and being rejected by a lot of them, in a lot of them too, I can say that some things, some relevant trends, some relevant keywords, which have helped me are storytelling and branding. And this is not just about the maison. It's not just about their storytelling and branding. It's about your storytelling and branding. It is about how you can brand yourself and how can you create a story which matches the story of a maison. So let's say, so this is another exercise I'm going to leave you to do. It's going to be select the top three maisons or top three companies that you want to work for in the luxury market. Just top three. Don't go further than that, because this is something which is going to take time. Top three brands. Maybe if somebody can throw in some names. Is there a brand which comes to your mind when I say, hey, you're going to be working for them? Everybody has a dream brand, right? They want to work for. What would it be? Which one? Okay.
Bulgari.
Okay.
Cartier.
Nice. They have a great women empowerment initiative program as well, and they help a lot of women. Their women foundation. Cartier is nice. Anybody else?
Dior for me.
Dior? Okay. Great. So the exercise is basically selecting the top three places that you want to work in, understanding what their story and branding looks like. So what is branding? It's basically, are they consistent? Is their voice consistent? What they're saying on, let's say, Instagram, is it similar to what they're saying in their campaigns on TV? Is it the same what they're saying on LinkedIn? And usually such brands do have a consistent brand voice, and they do have a consistent story that they're trying to tell us. Once you figure that out, keep that aside. Then imagine yourself as a brand. Let's say, Georgia is a brand. How will she tell her story, which is going to convince the hiring manager at her dream company, Dior? She cannot just say, I'm an ESCP student, because there are many. She has to create a story. She has to create a brand out of herself, which is going to be similar to something, the values that Dior is looking for. And once you've done the exercise about the story and the consistent brand voice about your dream company, you will be able to create a story which matches with the company. And you do not have to do it in a fake manner. Let's say, hey, these are the values they're looking for, so once I'm in an interview, I'm going to say the same thing. No, your values should really align. Like for me, sustainability is actually one of the major topics. I've done many projects in them. So whenever I'm sitting for an interview, this is a question I ask them, like, can you tell me about your sustainability initiatives? And And this is another point: always ask questions in an interview. You are not there to answer, you're not there to just sell yourself, you're also trying to understand whether the brand is a fit for you or not. We're not desperate, we're talented individuals. It might take us a long time to get to the dream job that we want, but we're not desperate to a point that we're going to work for anybody. It should be aligned to our values as self as well. So don't try to align yourself to the maison. Does the maison align to you and your values is also a very major question. So this is the part about storytelling and branding. Then of course there's quality and commitment, which is the basic. It comes again under the same thing. Like, is the maison and their work qualitative? Is the brand's work qualitative for you? And would you be able to give them the commitment they require in terms of value? Let's say there's a person who doesn't believe in sustainability. I'm really sorry I'm coming back to the topic, but this is something which I absolutely love. They will not be able to survive in a company which is committed to something like that. Maybe a 6 months internship they could go by. Then what? Another 6 months internship, another. No, right? So commitment, what is the brand committed to, and whether you're committed to it yourself makes a huge difference. And then comes you and your passion, something which really differentiates somebody who's, we're all from, like, let's say the top 5 business schools. We've more or less have probably the same grades and the same courses, but there's going to be something which differentiates you and me, and each one of us is going to be differentiated different, is going to have a differentiating factor, and that's going to be your passion. And we all cannot say our passion is luxury. No. For example, in my case, there's always a big question: why did you shift from fashion to fragrances and cosmetics? Always a question. Whenever a recruiter looks at me, they're like, hey, you were in fashion, you could have joined, let's say, the couture business. Or why did you decide to go for fragrances and cosmetics? And there is actually a true story behind it. And it is that since I was a kid, I used to save up money just to buy a perfume, a good fragrance on my birthday, every month every March. And this is the story I had, and this is what really drove me to join the fragrance business, just to understand. And even before this, I had done a lot of courses and I'd done a lot of workshops about fragrances, how do you test fragrances, the top notes, the heart of the fragrance. So I knew all of these technical skills, not just because I wanted an internship or a job in this sector, but because it was really my passion. So I, sort of jumped from the recruiter doubting me about joining something which I was not good at, or I should not join because I have a different background. This sort of helped me jump that gap. So find those gaps in your profile and plug them in with your passion. Just these 3 things which I would really like you to keep in mind and think about. I'm giving you a lot of things and a lot of exercises to do, but I really hope they help you because they've helped me. And I hope they help you too. Okay, I'm talking a lot, so maybe we'll have to go a bit faster.
There's no time limit. You can go on.
No, I'm sure everybody, you might have other things to do. So this is just a reiteration of everything that I've said so far, and this is a mantra which has helped me, and it always helps me, and I really hope it can help you as well. That knowing yourself best and advocating for yourself can take you places where nothing else would work. So just think of yourself as your biggest asset. And there are 2 ways in which people go about it. One is, once you know yourself, you can easily split yourself in strengths and weaknesses. And as cliche as this question might be, this is asked every time in an interview, at least in my experience. 99% of the times I've had this question about, hey, tell me your top 2 strengths and top 2 weaknesses. So you don't have to have a written answer. It should be a real, you should be prepared for it because you should know yourself best. It shouldn't be an answer which everybody is giving, like, oh, I'm really hardworking, I'm agile, I'm international. No, big no. Who is Shibika? What's her strength? What's her weakness? Who is Isabel? What's her real strength and what's her weakness? It has to be something which is very real. And then there are two ways to go about it. And I pick up the way which is I know my strengths and I build on them. This is one way. The other is know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and improve them. Maybe for some people it might work the other way, that you know your weaknesses and you want to improve them or work on them. But I usually pick up the other way. I know my strengths and I want to build on them. Yes, I know my weaknesses, but a person cannot be perfect, right? I have accepted my weaknesses, I acknowledge them, and of course, I would like to change them if possible, but I'm not perfect. But I know my strengths and I work on them and I build on those strengths and go about. So these are the two ways, but this will only happen to you when you really, really treat yourself as an asset. And like I said, and I'm going to concentrate this entire thing about entering the luxury industry or getting the job that you want, but know that you are talented, you are creative, and you really have something to offer. And this, you can only have this confidence in yourself when you've actually sat with yourself and known, like, hey, listen, who am I? Ask yourself this question: who am I? How can I actually be of value to somebody? And once you're there, the confidence is gonna come. I'm not saying that it's gonna be there every time. You're gonna be a person who is ultimately confident, no, but at least you would know yourself the best. So this is just the part where we talk now. And of course, a lot of people wanted to know about Women at Dior. So I'm just going to take a quick few minutes to talk about it. So Women at Dior is a mentorship program by Christian Dior Couture. And their applications are right now open and they close on 14th Feb. If you want to be a part of it, there are two ways to go about it. One, if your school's a partner. I'm not sure if ESCP is a partner. I think it's not. Yeah, yes, you told me that it isn't. So now the other way that remains with all of you is to apply the other way, which is which is not going to be through your school. And in this case, your application, it makes a huge difference because it's usually when a school sends the application, the HR or the talent acquisition team at Dior already knows that these people are good. Right now, you'll be fighting for attention, let's say. And just to give a brief example of, like, let's say, just share my experience, you should only be a part of this program if you are an autonomous individual, if you're somebody who can multitask, if you're somebody who wants to be, let's say, spoon fed, or who wants, some people like things to be organized, some people want things to be done in, let's say, a set pattern. If this is who you are, and I'm not saying that's bad, that's just how some people are, it's not going to be the best experience for you because you really have to do everything on your own. Like, there is an online course, you have to follow each one of them. Then you'll be partnered with a mentor who works at Dior, and you have to consistently talk to them. I also know a couple of people whose mentors were really busy, so they didn't get time with them. So if only you have that kind of time, and that, let's say, tenacious, if you're that tenacious, I would ask you to apply for the program. And the cover letter and your application's got to be it's just going to be what we've already discussed. Really know yourself, because how you're partnered with a mentor at Dior or through this program is through a personality test, which of course comes later. But if you've already provided something like that in your cover letter, it's going to show them that you know at least something about the program, and you've made the effort of entering it. And if we're talking, and you should definitely do it because I've told you. And then again, there are 4 pillars to this program. The main values apply if you actually feel aligned with those values, not just because I'm not saying that you have to be aligned with all 4 of them, but if you even feel associated or remotely inspired by at least 2 of them, go ahead and apply. And honestly, there's no hard and fast way. They really want to know who you are. And then once your application goes ahead, you're going to have an interview. Mine was a grilling session more than an interview. It lasted, what, 1 hour. And but yeah, the experience overall has been nice. It was a weird year because everything was online, so I cannot really say for sure if this is how the program was supposed to look like. But for me, I had some brilliant experiences. um, I got to, if we've been connected, I got to meet that I got to meet Ada Hegerberg, who's an international female football player, and she's the face of, let's say, uh, women empowerment. So it was a great experience for me. That's what I can say personally. If you have any other questions, very specific ones, if there's something I've missed out on, please feel free to ask me right now. Like the slide says, let's talk.
Just a quick question, Ananya. Uh, how many hours do you think you give to women at Dior during the week, for example?
I would say that if you have to really follow all the courses and implement them in your life, you need at least, let's say, out of if you're somebody like me who procrastinates and does things at the end moment, I used to give, like, let's say, a weekend, a Saturday on a weekend or a Sunday on a weekend to it, where I was only focused on doing my courses and contributing to the project. But I also know there were a couple of people, like some of my friends, who were doing giving 1 or 2 hours every day once the thing started. But it is all about being autonomous. You have to really push yourself to do it. Nobody's going to be sitting on your head. Nobody's going to be telling you, hey, there's a course, you have to finish it. You have to do it all by yourself. So you really need that motivation.
Okay, and just another one. Like with this, what kind of opportunities do you think you will gain after that? Like what kind of benefits will you have?
Mm-hmm. Something to be very clear about, which I feel a lot of people miss, it is not an entry into Dior by any chance. It does not put your foot into Dior by any chance. It does not guarantee you an internship or a job. It doesn't even put you in, let's say, that position to interview for an internship. You are still an external candidate, but it is what you make of it. For me, for example, there were a lot of mentees this year, around 300, 500 mentees all across the globe, but I sort of pushed for the opportunities that I got, which was that interview, because only one mentee was selected among all the mentees that they were there at Women at Dior. So it's more about taking space, and in terms of opportunities, it's just about what you make of it, but it does not yes, of course, you get to know a lot about Dior as a maison. You get to learn, let's say, trade secrets about them, things you wouldn't learn otherwise. You get to network with a lot of people if that is something what you're looking for, but in no terms it is a pushing factor for getting an internship or job. So yes, think wisely. Think really carefully before applying. It looks like a very nice thing, another feather in your cap, but it requires real work. And I'm sure if you're really looking to be a part of this program, you've spoken to other people as well. And I can say it with guarantee, their experience was probably not the same as mine. So maybe I should not be the only person you should talk to, and I would encourage you to talk to other mentees as well. But for me, yes, the experience was great, but it requires time and commitment, and it's what you make of it. Any other questions? Anything else that you want to talk about? Anything else that you were expecting from me, but we've not discussed it? I don't know, maybe you can just tell me about your passion. Like I said, fragrances, and I told you a very personal story. Maybe somebody else can go and tell me, hey, this is my passion and this is what I like doing. I have a feeling that Isabel's gonna save me. No?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah?
So now, first of all, thank you so much. And then I have two questions for you. The first one is that I really like social media, and I was wondering if you did any course or how did you improve your skills on social media?
Oh, okay, so for me, social media was something with which I started my career, let's say. So I started with organic social media. And this was, so when I was in fashion school, I did more than 13 internships and post school work. And this was all centered around social media, and that time it was organic for me as to handling the already existing pages of a brand, creating content for them. That's how I got to know about the different specs, which are specifications which are required for, let's say, Instagram, and how they differ from Snapchat. So I started with organic, and then when I was working in Coty's media department, I did a lot of trainings with Facebook, with Snapchat, to actually know what goes backhand. And I can tell you, if you're looking for that, the Facebook training is free. The Snapchat training is also now free. So if you have time, if you can commit, go ahead, do these courses, and you will learn a lot about what goes as, let's say, what we call paid media, like how do you put up advertising campaigns, social media campaigns from a back end. So it's very hands on. I feel it's ever changing. So I attend a lot of webinars. I've put, alerts on a lot of different platforms like BOF, Vogue, and if there is anything. And like Facebook recently came up with a lot of different specifications and a lot of different formats as well. So I keep myself updated, and nothing else. And I can also say it, at least this is my personal experience, certifications are not important. It's not important if you have a Facebook certificate or a Google Analytics certificate. No, but if you know how to do it. I did not have any certificates, but I just knew how to do these things, and it got me by. So don't go after certifications, don't pay for online courses, get hands on with it, and you learn.
Yeah, I was wondering,
Yes.
what do you think about the new social media, which is called Clubhouse? Do you think that it will become important for the brands, or no, not really?
I've actually been following a lot of, let's say, key opinion leaders, people from Facebook, senior management people, and we have a mixed opinion. And honestly, I'm not on Clubhouse yet to say if I really like the interface or not. But from the debate, which I've seen, and by following the people that I do hear that it's not yet there. It's going to take time for it to come up. And I just have one example to give. Let's say TikTok. A lot of leaders in the industry, especially in the social media industry, let's say L'Oreal's CRM director, she's been pushing. I see her pushing for TikTok, and I've seen her doing it for the past 1 year. But still, it has not found its way in the luxury industry as it should have. So I really feel that there's so much there's going to be waiting for Clubhouse as well.
Thank you so much. Perfect.
I have a question. Since you work in social media marketing and there's the whole issue of greenwashing, have you ever been asked to do a project where you felt like it wasn't genuine? And so, like, how do you deal with that? How?
I have to say this. I've thankfully never come across something like this, because if I would, and given that, I still hold a junior position, it would be against my, let's say, values, since I've talked about it, but I would have had to do it. So I'm glad I've never put myself in this situation. But yes, when the entire George Floyd case was going on, I did ask the company that I was working for. Like, I took the risk of going to the senior management and asking them why we were not doing anything in support of something like this. And I got a very nice answer, which I had not expected. They told me very clearly that yes, we do know that we lack the inclusion and diversity aspect. We're not big on it as a company, but we're not going to ride on a trend just because it's, trending right now. So that somehow gave me a very nice perspective that a company might not be good at it, but they accept it, and they're not just going to ride a trend for the sake of it. So that's a really interesting question. And I'm glad I've never been in this position, and I really hope I never am.
And so, because overall, like, do you think, because sustainability is in itself kind of like a trend, but like people are starting to take it more genuinely, do you think like usually these kind of innovation projects within a company, do they start from employees raising concerns, or is it also from a PR point of view where you need to make sure you stay with the values of the current
Yeah. No,
like
I feel
industry?
it's, yes, I do feel a lot of innovation projects start from the consumer. A consumer demands for it, and then each and every team gets involved in it. And then, of course, it also has to do a lot with the kind of leadership. So if you will see, and if you will try to follow the kind of positions that are opening up in the luxury industry right now, which I see, like, It's all across LinkedIn, it's all across in like all the other job platforms. It's about a sustainability manager, it's about a diversity manager, and every other post is about how a big group hired a new sustainability manager. So I'm really looking forward to these people and seeing where they take these companies now that it has sort of become a trend. But I do feel that it starts with the consumer, and since we've started asking for these things, it's gonna like the change is gonna come, and it has to be positive, because for how long can they wash us, right? We'll see through it. Like Burberry, what they did by burning all their, the entire thing, it became such a big, let's say, scam per se, and their brand equity went down. So I think now the brands also cannot afford to wash the consumers anymore.
Thank you.
No problem. Do we have some other questions? Maybe some other comments? Maybe somebody wants to say something?
Maybe a last question for my side. For your personal experience, what do you think about LVMH, your work environment? Do you like what you do at LVMH? And do you advise us to apply there? Like, are you happy, satisfied of your experience there?
Sure. So one of the major reasons why you should consider LVMH as a group would be because there is a mobility within the group. So maybe today you're working for Dior, but tomorrow you feel like working for Fred. You can easily jump. And maybe one day you want to work for hospitality, you can go there as well. So the mobility within the group is incredible. But then again, every brand is so different from the other brand, and they're literally competitors of each other as well. So like if we say if we take Parfum Christian Dior, it's a competitor of Guerlain. So the environment within the company is also very competitive within its own brands. So just don't go by the LVMH label. Do a deep study about the maison that you want to join, and if you really want to be in that industry or not. But apart from that, I would really say, like, if this is the industry that you want to be in but you're not sure about the domain, joining the LVMH group gives you that flexibility, provided you're a good performer, provided you can work well, provided that you have reviews, good reviews. But the let's say it's also backfiring on some people, because I have friends who did internships within the LVMH group for one of the brands, and they did not have a great experience. Their review was bad, like the end term review was so bad that the other HRs and other LVMH brands did not hire them. So this is also something that you have to really consider. So on one hand, it's a pro, but on the same hand, the same thing can become a con as well.
Okay, thank you. And do you think that you will continue at LVMH, or do you think that you will change from this group to another?
I'm actually trying, because I want to get into pure PR and social media. I'm also thinking of gaining an agency experience. So these are clients, right? But there are agencies like Publicis, there is Group M. So I might make a switch there, because I feel I'm still too young to not be exploring, and I think I can still afford to do this thing. And a lot of my mentors have told me that if this is the area you want to get in, it's good to start with agencies per se, like marketing agencies, PR agencies, influencer agencies, and then move on to a company, because you get to know a lot. And at a young age, it's easier to be in a fast-paced environment, work longer hours, which might not be possible for some people who have a family. So this is definitely something that I'm exploring.
Okay.
Maybe somebody who's going to share their experience with me, somebody who's probably worked in some company already, done an internship or done a project, which was great. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I guess this is it. This is about it. Yeah,
Actually,
there's one. Yeah.
sorry, I might have one last one because I mean, a lot of us are bachelor students, so like we don't have experience. So how would you say we can make up for that? Like obviously, you talked about knowing ourselves and knowing our
Mm-hmm.
strengths, but I guess sometimes like they do kind of look at the professional experience.
Mm-hmm.
So like, do you have like a tip or like something where you think that we can really like highlight that can still make
Sure.
us stand out and like as valuable?
Definitely. So like I was telling you about my passion project, which I've been doing, like via LinkedIn, helping people get into the industry. These are all people who did not have previous experience or who were trying to switch their fields. And I'm not going to say it's easy, but I'm going to definitely tell you that it's not that hard. It's not impossible, and it could really be done. And the reason behind it is that for internships, they are actually not looking for experience, which works in your favor. For an internship, what they're really looking for is whether you have passion, whether you've done relevant studies in that industry. And of course, like I was just discussing, if probably you, let's say you want to get into public relations and you've probably followed a lot of public relation agencies and you know what they've been doing, you've been benchmarking the company, and you present to them some relevant facts about the industry, about the domain that you want to get into, it really makes up for the lack of experience, I feel. But yes, research is really important. Do not apply for jobs out of desperation. This is something which I've said again and again. Do not. Of course, there does come a time when we're just desperate to find an internship or a job. But before that, why not just do that deep research at our end and present it for that particular position that we want to work in? So don't worry if you don't have experience, if you're a bachelor student, you have to come out someday, and it's not going to be that hard.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No, I think people have, a lot of people have already left, but those who have stayed, thank you. I think this is the slide. This is the last slide, just one more, which just basically says, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining in this conversation. And I would really, really be grateful if you could probably write to me, if you could just share on your social medias and tag me and tell me what you found most relevant, and collaboration and connection over competition. So don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be very happy to talk to each one of you. And if there's any way I can help you, maybe if one of you becomes a part of the project that I've been doing, if one of you probably wants one-on-one help, and if there's any way I can do it, I'll be very happy to do it.
Thank you very much, Ananya, for everything. I think this presentation was very enriching for all of us, as we want to work in this industry too. So many thanks, and we'll be in touch, I think, maybe.
Yes, definitely.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you,
good day.
Ananya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.